Alright everybody, we're back for round 3. Friday Night Magic at Lost Legion Games and Comics in South Charleston, West Virginia. We have a very interesting matchup. I'm very excited about this. I need to check and make sure that certain someone is watching in the... Alright, so Justin Duelzonizer, if you're watching, you're logged in, but you need to come back to the computer and watch this because, and Zach Filianco, as we see Rock Lobster take it down yet again. Oh. Is that 3-0 tonight, Rock Lobster? Ian Strege on the left is playing a deck that we saw last week in round 2. That was actually played by Vince Smith. He is playing a blue-red Deadeye Navigator Infinite combo deck. Very exciting, very fun. I was very upset that the audio didn't work last week because I thought it was a very cool deck to talk about. He's playing against Vince Smith, who's playing a blue-red Delver deck. This is actually the pair-up. Ian is 1-1 and Vince is 2-0. There is 4 rounds tonight. We have 18 people, but they will be playing 4 rounds. So for those of you who don't know how this deck works, Zach Vilianco should be very excited about this deck because it does go infinite. Basically, Ian's deck revolves around resolving the following 3 cards: Deceiver Exarch, Gilded Lotus, and Deadeye Navigator. And how that works is you have a Deceiver Exarch and a Gilded Lotus in play. Then when you resolve Deadeye Navigator, for 2 mana you can blink the Exarch, which will untap something when it comes back into play. You choose the Lotus, and since that taps for 3 mana, you can then re-blink it for 2 mana. You're netting a mana every time through the loop. And in this way he can generate a lot of mana, which he will then use for a massive Devil's Play. Or he can make infinite copies also of Zealous Conscripts, which will just replace Deceiver Exarch with Zealous Conscripts, and then he can take control of all of his opponent's permanents, and that usually is usually good enough to win the game as well. Last week we saw Vince win by stealing an Inferno Titan and generating an infinite red mana and then killing with it.
Now, I was watching Ian play this deck in a little warm-up match before we got started. And he actually went off and got the infinite mana, but he didn't have a win condition. But he did have a Forbidden Alchemy in his graveyard, so he just made a bunch of mana, alchemied into another alchemy, cast that and flashed it back, and then found his Devil's Play.
Okay.
It was very fun to get Devil's Play.
Originally, Vince was not playing black, so that's interesting. That is he even playing black sources or just getting off the Lotus?
The Lotus.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. Vince, on the other hand, is playing a pretty stock blue-red Delver deck, which is... It's interesting we've seen 2 Delver lists tonight, but neither of them blue-white. Vince is...
I like a blue-red better. Just saying, out of all the picks. Sorry to cut you off there.
No. I cut myself off because I'm eating a fruit snack generously donated by Michael Taylor. That's maybe when I run out of scissors lizards to give away, maybe we can just do fruit snacks. Am I breaking any kind of international trafficking laws by mailing those to Greece? So when Vince probed, we saw that Ian had absolutely no business in his hand. He does have a loot house though, so he can generate some kind of...
So what's that he has on the field? Deceiver Exarch?
That is an Exarch, yes.
So they're just getting in for the damage.
Might as well. Well, I think Vince is just...
I like the argument of what he's talking about unsummon there. It's very true.
Yeah, this is an interesting point. Seeing discussed in the chat is that no one played Unsummon for years, and then all of a sudden you made Unsummon that did 1 damage and it became the best card. Although I would argue that the reason it became the best card is because they printed something called Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah,
I guarantee you people will be playing Unsummon if Paper Snag wasn't around. So Vince gets in there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Some of our combatants are good about an old school Dissipate sighting. That should counter 2. You should be able to counter 2 spells if you have the original artwork.
Yeah, it's your move from this game and the next game.
Exactly.
That person.
Oh yeah. I mean, it seems only fair.
Right? Just take it out of their deck for the rest of the tournament.
It just removes it from their collection. Just have to throw it away. He's getting in there. This is the age-old situation where if you're not going to block with it, you might as well attack, right? He can he can loot at any point, right?
Yeah.
So that pike is loaded up with 3, right?
What's that? So did he pillar the Deceiver or Ian?
I think Ian. So did he get in for 8 then?
Yeah.
2 from that, and then with the loaded up pike.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Ian.
Can he win from here?
He's got 1/3 of the combo.
Hmm.
Well,
That'll buy him some turns.
yeah.
The Spellskite also helps protect the combo in the sense that you can't interact with the combo with instant speed removal, and Spellskite will allow you to. Here's my advice: don't pay 2. Not sure exactly what happens off this alchemy. All right.
Yeah, I think he was just digging for a miracle there.
So this is a little bit unfortunate.
See why?
Not a miracle card, like a
Why
literal miracle.
Would you have extended that way, like not leaving back the Deceiver just in case?
No, I thought about it when he attacked. I thought about leaving it back just in case, but it's also one of those things where it's easy for us to point out after the fact.
True.
But I would agree, especially considering you're playing an infinite combo deck.
Well,
The chances of you winning with 20 attacks from your 1/1.
Yeah, exactly. Pushing that 1 damage. Unless, but we don't know what else was in his hand either.
But it lets him save 1 mana later out of his infinite mana pool when he's casting that Devil's Blade.
Gonna be.
And keep one back.
I love me a spendthrift. More importantly, we see Rock Lobster pull ahead in the lifetime. It's unofficial lifetime because I haven't actually gone back and looked. I just remembering mostly from my head, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate.
I mentioned for
Give or take 1 Rock Lobster.
I like that they're bringing up Underworld Connection, the mini Phyrexian arena.
Underworld Connection. It's an interesting card we can talk about. Underworld Connection is a card from Magic.
The Gathering.
Magic the Gathering collectible card game for kids. It has basically been referred to as the poor man's Phyrexian Arena, or whatever you want to call it. It does a. Why don't you all talk about it, and I'll try to find it. What's it called?
It's Underworld Connections.
Basically, Phyrexian Arena, but instead of just being a regular enchantment, you have to put it on a land. And in order to draw the card and pay the life, you have to tap the land. So it's kind of like an arena that costs 1 to activate.
Well, I guess the good part about that is that it, now will be the point in where I can only find spoilers of it that are in foreign. But I guess that's the cool thing about it is that it's, you get to choose. One of the problems about Phyrexian Arena is that eventually it will kill you. And it doesn't help you come from behind by any means, because if you're already in dire straits, it won't really help you.
It'll make your straits dire.
Yeah. But
you can get 2 for 1.
Well, that's the thing too. But people forget that Wizards, and probably correctly, has eliminated land destruction from the competitive and casual play, basically because it's the worst possible thing that could ever happen to anyone. So I can understand where they're coming from there, but.
I mean, I think you'll see something like Abrupt Decay hitting Underworld Connections more often than you'll see something blowing up the land that it's on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm slowly getting there. See if I can bring this up here and we can discuss it in detail. But while we're doing that, look at that. And then some
classic misdirection.
Come down and play. So here's the deal. I know nobody's going to watch this randomly from the Midwest or the West Coast and be like, oh, I'm going to make it my trip to a place that I didn't really know existed, because most people don't think West Virginia is a state, let's be honest. but maybe someone locally will see this. That's the one.
The Connections of the Underworld.
We can look at it briefly while Ian resolves a mulligan. But yeah, so basically it costs the same as Arena. You do have to put it on the land, so there is potential you could get blown out, but unless we see them really start bringing back land destruction, shouldn't be an issue.
But, comparisons to the Arena aside, I mean, it's still a pretty reasonable draw engine. It's just 3 mana, 1 mana a turn, and 1 life. And you can activate it on your opponent's turn, which is something Phyrexian Arena doesn't do. So it gives you access to miracle draws on your opponent's turn.
Oh, that's an excellent point. Excellent point. There's not a black miracle because it's not thematic. I've been yelled at before. It's unfair.
It's silly.
It's discriminatory.
Racist.
It is racist. So.
But, if you've got Bonfire splashed in your deck, you want to double your opportunities to miracle that.
Lots of business going on in the Twitter feed as we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 separate people, including one person who I know for a fact is currently playing in the Star City Games Invitational in Atlanta right now. Good luck to him. Nick Beckfar. He is on Blue White Delver and Maverick. Have you watched any of that coverage?
I have not.
It's available. You can watch it on your phone on Twitch TV app.
Putting all of my Magic-related attention into our coverage.
That's a good point, because after you're done watching that, you could just tune right over on that same Twitch TV app and check us out. But more importantly, Ian has found 5 lands that 5 cards that he can keep. He then just lamented that he can't. To be fair, he just said, "I don't know why I kept this."
And he drew a land.
But to be honest, 5 lands and no business is a lot better than the alternative.
Yeah.
Beggars can't be choosers. You can't. Magic would be a lot easier.
Go to 0.
Then
you're just in top deck mode the whole game.
I always mold 0 just so I can showboat.
The thing I always find funny about mulligan, though, is if you're on the end where you say, or if anyone is like, I'll go to 5 cards, you're going to win this for sure, and then comes around and beats the living crap out of the other person.
The chat is mentioning that Underworld Dreams Acidic Slime is still a card.
Oh, that is true.
So that 2-for-1 will exist. As we see Vince land a Stromkirk Noble and resolve a Ponder, or resolve a Thought Scour. Flip his Delver naturally, right?
And then the Street Sweeper, the enchantments attached to land get knocked off, because that's very relevant in this format.
I think that's a pretty good indication that in Wizards testing, Underworld Connections turned out to be way broken, and they had to print this super awesome hoser for it that is available to any color. You're going to see Street Sweepers in every sideboard.
Actually, we joke about that, but that is a card you can Pithing Needle.
That's a good point.
Does anyone have any idea what the life totals are?
Well,
actually,
Vince is at 18.
Probe, yeah.
And then Ian is at less.
Well, he's perking it up, and he's doing...
1, 2, 3. He's at 4. He's at 16. Every card that Ian has drawn has been land except 1. This is really unfortunate because this deck is super cool. And it's unfortunate that looks like we're going to be done quickly. But
it's kind of just a showcase of how Magic works. Being that
it is a game of variance. Yeah. So now we've got a Pike loaded up on Stromkirk. Looks like 9. 10 dropping into 6.
Does Ian run any board wipes or anything of that nature?
He runs that kind of board wipe, which is to pick up all of his cards. That was very unfortunate.
Literally wiping his board.
That was very unfortunate. But it is what it is. Hopefully sometime we'll be able to relive if you want to see, there's no sound, but if you want to relive the beauty of Navigator combo in its fullest, go to the YouTube archives last week, 9/14, round 2, Vince played and won both of his games by going infinite. Once by a giant Blue Sun Zenith, and once by stealing all of his opponent's permanents, including an infinitely big Inferno Titan. So, we have some time to kill now. What is the best way to do that?
Well, I do have the
Is it Golgari decks?
Yeah.
Or are you going to go play?
Yeah, we can.
Alright, you know what's funny about that is I, earlier today, printed out the list so that I could talk about those.
Nice.
So while you're out there, excuse us while we do a little bit of housekeeping in here. When you're out there, could you lay this on the table? I forgot to put that out there so you know where to go. Alright, so you guys are going to go out there? No, just on the side so if people want to know. You can shut that if you want. Alright, so I have now been left to my own devices in here. So what we've got now is, since that round ended so early, what we're going to do is Michael and Jordan are going to go out there and run the Golgari and Izzet dual decks together. I don't know if you've seen these cards, seen these products, but they are pretty saucy. If you're an EDH player, if you have a cube, to be quite honest, if you just want some legacy staples, there's some pretty cool cards in these decks. I don't have them up on the. I thought I had a link to them, but I'll just go through the rundown of what's in the decks. The Golgari deck. The most important thing that's in this deck is there is a copy of Life from the Loam in this deck. It's got some pretty cool cards. It works on the dredge mechanic. It has the new card Dreg Mangler in it, which is the 3/3 for haste creature. It's got a lot of value creatures like that. It works out of the graveyard. But like I said, a couple copies of Putrefly, a new art on a Golgari Signet. The Izzet deck has a new Izzet Signet as well. Some really cool cards there. I'm going to go ahead and flip back to the other camera because I think they may have started playing. There's a lot of new arts on these cards. So if you're interested in that, well, they're not quite done. There is in the Izzet deck, of course, there's a blue-red deck. There is a Brainstorm. It's a new art on a Brainstorm, so you might want to check that out. If you play that in EDH or in your cube, and you have another option now. It has a copy of Fire and Ice in it, which is also good. New art on Isochron. Actually, I think the Isochron Scepter may be the original art, but it does have a copy of Isochron Scepter. Izzet Signet, like I said, new art on the Izzet Signet as well. Prophetic Bolt, Sphinx-Bone Wand, which is a lot of fun, and then a copy of Niv-Mizzet the Firemind. So it's just a pretty standard blue-red instant and sorcery deck that's getting a lot of value off cards like Galvanoth, Gelectrode, things like that. Also runs 2 copies of Kiln Fiend, so it's a pretty fun deck. Both of these decks are pretty well designed against each other. There's a lot of, the Golgari deck uses graveyard a lot. There are cards in the Izzet deck that shuffle graveyards back in. So there's a lot of value in this deck in terms of monetary value. It basically pays for itself in the reprints. But then they're pretty well balanced and pretty fun. We'll go back now to the feature cam and see if those guys are ready to go. I will have to apologize. There will undoubtedly be some scenario in which there's a card they play that I don't know what it is because of the new art. So just bear with me on that. But this should be a pretty good stopgap in terms of content while we wait for the next round to start. So watching now, since Vince handled business very quickly, much in the way that you had your business handled very quickly.
Yes.
We are now watching Jordan and other guy,
Michael Taylor.
Professor Michael Taylor Esquire. They are piloting the dual decks, the Izzet versus Golgari dual decks.
Awesome. I've never actually seen this play.
Have you seen the lists?
I browsed through one.
Yeah, I mean, I know Vickers bought one when they first came out, and I was very surprised at the cards that they had reprinted. I'm very surprised. I was very excited to see Life from the Loam.
Yes.
But even the Izzet deck has some pretty cool cards too. I've already apologized to everyone who's watching because there's some new arts in some of these cards, and some of them are somewhat obscure, so I'm not exactly sure what they all are. I know what these cards are. That's a Kiln Fiend on the right out of the Izzet deck, and then Jordan leads off with a Elves of Deep Shadow.
I remember when Kiln Fiend used to wreck some poppers.
Elves of Deep Shadow was reprinted in Ravnica Block, right?
Yes.
Because it's originally from Fallen Empires? Or the Dark?
The Dark.
The Dark.
But it came back in base Ravnica, wasn't it?
Well, it's like the ideal. It's like the ideal Golgari card, like thematically as well as like function.
I think it's Deathrite Charm, whatever that was called.
Luis Scott Vargas won a Pro Tour with him in his deck because he was playing that in that Pro Tour Elves. He was playing black for Thoughtseize. That was his sweet tech. Have you ever watched that?
Yeah.
That's a very interesting. For those of you,
made me want to play.
for those of you, obviously, if you're watching our stream on a Friday night, you're interested in Magic content. You should go and watch the Pro Tour Berlin extended top 8, or at least the finals, where 7 of 8 decks were elves,
Oh, yeah. So maybe
all different, and everyone won on the second or third turn, which is pretty. It's fun to watch. I couldn't imagine playing against it because it's the most boring thing in the world.
I appreciate this kit, this mouse pad.
That's Michael Taylor's mousepad. He has brought in his netbook. I feel somewhat bad because I haven't been using it that much because I, believe it or not, there's a lot of stuff going on and it's hard for me to keep up with even the bare minimum of it. But it is nice to have the Twitter up on this.
Vince, are you 3 there?
Yeah.
Awesome. What are you playing?
Blue-Red Delver.
The combo?
I realize I probably shouldn't announce that to you, but he doesn't care. But anyway, back to this game. That was a Shambling Shell, right?
Yes.
I don't know what happened.
He sacks it to put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature, and it has
He can
dredge.
dredge.
1. Is it
Actually,
1 or 3?
this card is actually played in Manaless Dredge because it is a black creature and it is another dredge card. So, and that is a Brainweevil. He's dredging it, right? So he gets a Brainweevil, a Swamp, and a card that I do not know what it is.
I didn't see it.
There's new art on a lot of cards in here. There's a Brainstorm in Izzet Deck, and I think it has new art.
I really like the art on the new
And like I was telling Vince, the signets are different. And the guy who I saw play these at the PTQ in Columbus, he just bought them and then just cracked them open and played them.
Are they worth the $20?
Yeah, it has a life from the loan. It's close. I mean, anytime you buy a product like this, unless it's like a From the Vault or something, you're going to lose some money. But so this is not the kind of thing you want to buy for speculation purposes.
I mean, that Brainstorm's probably like $4.
Retail is probably worth more than the asking price, but in actuality, it's probably break even.
I don't know. I feel like the Elspeth Tezzeret one was definitely.
Oh, that was a good one, but they don't always work out like that, you know.
It had like a
When they
sword.
start,
No, it had 2 swords in each one, and a
yes,
and
it has daces. Didn't have no, that's with
No,
the
that's
Jace.
Jace.
Yeah,
Swords in it?
and the Tezzerets are worth $5 too.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. That was a good one. Well, I mean, even like what was the elves versus goblins?
Yeah.
That's worth a ton of money, but none of the cards are good. It's just that they're hard to
I
find.
bought that whenever it came out.
We've been somewhat ignoring this game. I don't think Michael has done anything except get in there with the Kiln Fiend, and Jordan has played at Ravenous Rats. I think that's the new Signet, the Golgari Signet.
Yeah, I think so.
These decks are fairly well balanced. It's very interesting to watch that play out.
I think whenever they printed the signets with new art, everybody on the internet was speculating that they would definitely be in Return to Ravnica, and then they weren't. So.
I hope they don't reprint them.
We're still cube drafting?
Huh? What?
It says we're cube drafting with you.
Oh. Thank you.
Oh, I watched some of the cube draft.
Let's not notice that. I'm sorry.
Oh, I noticed it way early, but I did nothing about it, and now after the fact. They're dropping like flies. We're losing people.
It's because we're not cube drafting anymore.
I think people aren't as interested in this. Actually, everyone that's signed in tonight, we've actually had about 8 separate people watch, but it's mostly people we know. But to be quite honest, if you want to look at this objectively, that's who's going to watch this live. It's people we know. Amber watched earlier. Zach Vilianco was watching. Matt Elliott is currently watching. My friend Justin, who lives in Maryland, is watching. He's the one who won last week's. This week's winner of the giveaway, sorry Vince, was Usman Jamail from Star City Games, the guy who writes the cube content for them. So he's going to be very excited when I send him a direct message and say, I need your address. He's like, oh. He actually watched on the cube draft. We had 10 people for that cube draft watching stream, and it was literally the worst draft I've ever done and the worst game. The drafts were fun, actually, but the games I played were just copious mistakes. I was watching one after the fact when I was editing them and putting them on YouTube and realized that one game actually killed Ian but we didn't realize it because of some trample, lifelink, double strike kind of things. I was just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I watched that one.
It was very late. There's a point where I had a Loxodon Warhammer on a first strike dude, and I killed him with trample damage, but we didn't notice. And then I scooped later, and then one of the guys in the stream was like, oh, that game wasn't over. And I was like, look, I didn't want to play this game because it's so tired. Because eventually you get tired.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a weeknight. Plus we'd eaten Chick-fil-A. What's going on here? What's that card, do you know?
I do not.
This is a problem with these alternate arts. Like, I don't know what the cards are.
No, that looks like Germination, Golgari Germination, which, what is that one? Whenever a creature dies, you get a non-token, yeah, you get a 1/1 Sapperling. And then...
So how's your in booth camp, like looking at the elf girl?
Yeah, I'll point that out next time. We talked about that once. I think you were in here, Vince. Did we talk about it?
You pick up at least 6 people.
For like our borderline.
We went to
looks like
PG.
I saw an Ian Nolte sighting on here at one point. He was featured in our cube this week. We'll have to do that again. We were talking about, I would really like to do like, did I talk to you about this? I'd really like to do like a Wednesday night legacy event sometime. Yeah, like just pick a time when we know everybody can be there. Line up people who are interested, even if they don't have a deck. Like we have enough decks that we can borrow, and then just have like fun like that. Because I would love to do a stream of legacy content. Because people want legacy content. There isn't a lot, and everything I've seen on like YouTube and stuff is like hard to watch. But
one group in California has like the yellow plugins.
NorCal Legacy. Yeah, they always play it like a fast food restaurant.
Some of my first FNMs were at the Hardee's in South Charleston.
I have no idea what's going on here. Dackmore salvage.
When I first started playing FNMs, we didn't have them at the Canal Mall, but Roger King was running them at the Hardee's. Because they have that banquet room.
Yeah.
Zach Galvanoth pointed out that the MSRP on these it's $19.99. It's what I thought it was, but
because I know Walmart still got them, almost bought one.
That's what I mean. It's a fair price. I refuse to play with like dual deck versions of cards. It's just a mental flaw I have. It's like not something I'm better than them. I just hate those like non-real symbols.
I went back and I was watching Top 8 Grand Prix Columbus, watching. I'm gonna butcher his Dennis Vinegar. How do you say his name?
Dennis Vinegarus.
That guy. Had whiteboarded my 8th or 9th edition Mana Leagues in his deck.
Well, because none of those guys own any cards, so they just show up on site the day of, they get a list, and then they put it together.
He's like, always Howard Fountains and Veggies. He's like, Mana League, whiteboarded ugly.
Okay, see. Hey, bud. Where's your brother?
Huntington tonight.
Small right
What a door. As Jonathan Wright joins us.
Are you 3-0?
Yeah.
Dare I ask what you're playing? I know the answer to that already.
You can answer it.
Huh?
You can answer it, go ahead.
Okay. But it's the same blue-white mid-range, right?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know if you had borrowed.
That up.
Well, you gotta get it while the Sun Titans are good, right?
Yeah.
Last week is the last week, right?
That's insane.
Yeah, if I can get all that, I'm going to play Solar Flare next week.
So, Jordan's board is mana producers, a Boneyard Worm, a Shambling Shell, and Elves of Deep Shadow with a 1/1 counter on it. Some card that you know that I don't know what it does?
Whenever a non-token creature dies, he gets a 1/1 Sapperling.
Okay. And then what is this card that he's pounding in here with? It has counters on it? Oh, it even comes with 2 complementary Sapperling tokens.
Not sure what the Izzet stuff is. That is Restless Tomb.
Yeah, it's Zvorgoth.
Something.
It has a lot. It has way too many consonants to be a legitimate word. But you can turn it into a creature that's basically a Boneyard Worm, right?
Yes.
For like $1 million. It's like 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess he can do it though.
Yeah.
Isn't Jordan playing Golgari?
Yep. I did it again. Actually, they're just lucky that I even bothered to do that to begin with. It's a lot of work, actually. A lot of the other stuff I have like streamlined, but editing the actual player names, because I can't make it all one thing, because players' names and links and decks change, so I have to do them individual, and so then it takes like forever.
It's like Boneyard Worm, that doesn't sound like Izzet.
It's hybrid. What is that card? Oh, what is he? What did he just cast?
Oh, that's the new Brainstorm art.
Oh, that's the new Brainstorm
Yes.
art? I don't know if I care for that. You like it.
Yeah.
Now the question is, does he have a shuffle effect to get rid of those 2 mountains?
I'm still going to keep playing the Ice Age ones, though, because I just like the old water better.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I like the masks ones. I don't know what's in his hand. That's a Steamcore Weird?
Yeah, it's deals 2 damage if you pay red for it whenever you play it.
Mm-hmm. They play that in Pauper, don't they?
Yeah. So
it shocks something.
Yeah.
Or about to say that.
They play it in the blue-red post.
And if you don't pay the red, does it die?
No, it just doesn't shock anything.
Okay. So he's taking out the 2/2 Elves of Deep Shadow. Now we're having an art debate over Brainstorm in the chat. Somebody's on board with your Ice Age.
Yeah.
So Steamcore Weird, a Kiln Fiend, a creature that we don't know what it is, and another creature that we don't know what it is. How much is that?
How big is the Boneyard Worm while you're out there? Did you see the size of the Boneyard Worm while you were out there?
Huh?
Did you see how big the Boneyard Worm was while you were out there?
Oh, no.
Or-
I don't care. To be honest, I don't care that much. Okay, so this card in the second from the top, I don't know what it is. I didn't actually look at the name. But it's a card like, it's one of those Lorwyn block cards that, like, it's hybrid. When it comes in, it has counters on it. And then as you remove them. So it's now a 6/6 dude.
Yeah.
And then it's like that Canker Abomination. That's exactly what it is. It's that same kind of cycle.
Yeah,
and then the other card is the Goblin, like the Goblin, whatever, that makes your instant sorcery spells cost less.
Yeah.
Okay.
During the Shadow War block was whenever I quit for a little while because of the treasures closing, and then there wasn't a shop for a little while, so wasn't playing during that time.
Well, we have talked about this before. I'm going to mention it yet again as I switch to the newly acquired studio camera. But we do have information regarding West Virginia States. It's going to be at the Beckley Convention Center in Beckley. For those of you who don't know where Beckley is, it probably doesn't matter because you're probably not coming to West Virginia States. But it is a new location. We are currently in Charleston, West Virginia, which is the capital. Normally it's here, but as we talked before, Star City is no longer doing it, so they didn't secure a venue, which means that last minute Lost Legion is it's awesome that we get to do the hosting, but you would like to know more than 7 weeks ahead of time. So we have secured the location in Beckley. It is a convention center. It will be a suitable venue for that. So it's going to be October 13th. We've got a lot of stuff coming up. We've got next week is pre-release, right?
Yeah.
Next week is pre-release. So FNM on Friday, pre-release on Saturday. After that, we're going to have...
Are you going to be streaming the
you know,
pre-release?
it's an interesting question. As you can see, Brett Rose sneakily in there. It's an interesting question. I do not know if I'm going to stream the pre-release because I just have to determine whether I'm going to play in the pre-release.
Yeah.
I might stream one pre-release and play in the other. It's just a matter of how... Let's be honest, at this point in life, I don't really play that much Magic anyway. But I get way much more fun out of doing this, but we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. But, so we've got pre-release coming up, followed by release, followed by states, followed by Charcon, which I haven't talked about, but we'll talk about in the future. But basically the West Virginia area gaming convention, which will be here in Charleston the week after. So, do you know how much time is left in the round? Did you hear them?
I don't know.
Do you think they played another game while we were chit-chatting?
Doubt it.
Probably started.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, bonus. You get a bonus match as I take a long, hard pull off this Orange Crush that I just purchased.
Crushing.
Next time that we have some time in between rounds, someone should play some Legacy. I brought my Legacy deck.
Hey.
I have a few other people. You have yours, and
Oh,
Here's two.
I have two. These decks right here that I hold in my hand. Back-to-back gathering Thursday Night Champs. Show and Tell and Belcher. Why play a fair deck when you can max one of the bar of this? That's a fair deck because you can interact with it. I mean, me and Brett have played a million games Show and Tell versus Burn, and it's pretty fair. There's some draws I can't lose, but then there are other, any ones I slow, he punishes me for. But Belcher, like, once we realized no one's playing any real decks down there, it's like, I'll just play the funnest one.
Yeah.
The most fun one. That's a Rusalka. Which one is that? The black one? Target creature gets -1/-1. What is it called? Is that Drowned Rusalka?
No, that's the blue one.
Starved?
I'm not sure the name of it.
Was Rusalka one of the themes for that block, or?
No, it was actually in the.
Yeah, there was a cycle of them.
Yeah, there was a cycle of them. It was in.
Kamigawa?
Okay.
No, the Rusalkas.
No, they were in Ravnica.
Yeah, they were in Guild Pact actually. Yeah.
Is that Gelectrode?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which taps to deal 1 damage and then untaps when you cast an instant or sorcery, or is it just instant?
I think it's sorcery. Yeah.
That's basically the entire thematics of the deck, which is. So they just trade, right?
Yeah.
Jordan, I can hear, is lamenting not attacking first, which I think is a very minor thing. But
well, how big's the toughness on that?
It's an 0-1.
Oh.
So he could have got some value out of it, I guess. As now we are down to a single solitary soul on our Twitch stream. I don't care. It's all good. We've had a pretty proactive conversation tonight. Like 8 or 9 separate people have actually been watching over the course of the evening, with maxing out at 5.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
How's the conversations been?
Pretty good. We've been talking about some very important things, like what are we going to do in Standard after all the pyroclasm effects rotate, which is a legitimate concern. We lose... Huh?
Mortars.
Oh, yeah.
Street Spasm.
Yeah. Street Spasm. This is a fun card to say.
The artwork looks pretty sweet on it.
While they're doing this, I'm going to take a brief look at pairings. Brett, did you win?
Yes.
So you're 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
Vince, so you 3-0?
Yes.
That means... Well, no, there's going to be 3. Oh, and then Jonathan's 3-0. So one of you two or Jonathan Wright will be paired down. The other 2 will be able to draw in.
So I guess the paired down person's going to be on future match.
Maybe not. If it's Jonathan, he will, I guess, because he hasn't played yet.
Yeah.
I try to get interesting decks and people who haven't been on before. Although when only 18 people show up, it's very difficult not to have the same people on camera every time. All right, so that's a Wee Dragonauts. That's a couple of Wee Dragonauts, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of my favorite cards to say, not necessarily one of my favorite cards to play. All right, we're getting coaching here from.
He's 2-0 for instant sorcery.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
2 damage if you cast 1.
No, it's.
It's a Kiln Fiend effect.
Yeah.
I like it. And that is what is that thing down there at the bottom? Is it Chronarch or is
It's
it
the Guildmage.
It does.
Copies, instants, and sorceries.
This card's too hard. It sounded like a great idea. We had talked about it in the past. I'd gone so far as to, even without discussing it, today I thought about it and printed off the deck list so I could discuss it. Even bookmarked where the list was online.
Yeah.
But then realized as soon as I went out there and sat down, I realized I'm not going to know what any of these cards are. Because there's some of them I don't know, first off. And then others, they don't have the art I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
No, he can't stop in the middle of the game, send a text to BFF Jill. OMG, Tilly playing future match. LOL.
You need confirmation on that text?
Isochron Scepter. Imprinting. I do not know what that is. Do you know what that is? Is it the replicate 1 damage or no?
Oh yes, the replicate 1 damage.
Oh, okay.
Friday, Friday, I don't get any more electronic messages throughout the week than I do on Friday night. Twitter's constantly telling me stuff. Twitch is constantly telling me stuff. From Matt Elliott, who is now listening, just now got the text, or just now noticed the text that you sent, literally 2 hours ago. So, my bad. My bad. I just sent a funny text to Jordan. Let's see. Let's see if that results in internet hilarity.
So why are the rats in here?
They discard, which I guess is on theme. You can sack them for value. I don't know if you can like really bounce or like reanimate or anything like that. Oh, there it is. Oh no! So close.
He's really the worst.
Running so bad. I'm running so bad. No one knows what's going on.
I'm pretty sure I see a forest in there somewhere.
Okay, so like, is the Guildmage a 2/2?
Yes. And it has, I believe,
Well, he just cast it, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? I haven't been keeping track of life. I don't even know.
Sure.
I don't even know why. I don't even know why I started counting it up. Now's that point of the night. I start to lose steam because it's a long day.
This match made me.
I've been thinking about guys quitting my job as a professional engineer and becoming a dedicated freelance Magic live stream commentator. I think it's a smart lateral career move for me. I think there's a lot of money. I think there's a lot of fulfillment. It's definitely a secure job market.
Seems good.
You guys want in on this?
Maybe.
Okay. Uh-oh. And as JB hands me the pairings, that means we are on to round 4.
I have to play Max.
So you got paired down. We're going to go find another match. We will be back shortly. bit.